G'day mates, it's the Doctor here, and welcome back to another session of Sitting Down with the Doctor. This is a series where I invite other YouTubers to come on, or maybe I'm talking about a particular subject, while you get to sit back, relax, or building a model set, doing chores, or grinding in a video game. Today I got a very dear friend with me. We have been friends for a very long time, we've helped each other out in our own videos, and in a way, he kind of got me back into the Thomas fandom. I am here to discuss or talk with Marr, the CEO of Mullen Studios.
Hi there. It's good to be here. This is like my very first time doing a interview of some sort, so I don't really know how this is gonna go well. Am I dressed well? Do I sound well? Do I have a zit in my face or something? I don't know, man.
You got something on your lip there.
Ah! I knew it!
Yeah, so Elma is a creator of Thomas Meeple Railway, Thomas Comedies, and Thomas Meets. I think something just went bang outside.
Oh, that's new. It's like,
um,
we're gonna list all this stuff. Oh, wait, there's an explosion. Anyway.
Hopefully that's the last of the background noises while we conduct this interview.
Yeah, because it's you gotta love those strange noises. Actually, that reminds me of a story. One time I was talking to my friends on Discord. All of a sudden, I heard a knock on the door. I got up, and the back door is like close by to my computer. So I checked. No one was there. I said hello. No reply. I went back down, and all of a sudden, my friend was like, "I am so sorry." It's like, well, what do you mean? And apparently he had like a sound saying on Discord, like a little notification when he comes back, and his sound was of a door knocking. So it was actually his soundbite that was knocking, not the actual door. So it fooled me.
That's a strange soundbite for your notifications.
Well, that was his little way of saying like I'm back, and it was just a knock on the door. It fooled me, so he felt bad about me getting up from my computer, but I thought it was hilarious. It was a nice little unintentional harmless prank, I guess you can say.
So, going back to your unplanned schedule, I think I'm coming up with a formula whenever I conduct an interview with another YouTuber. So, we're going to dive straight into the question, starting with how did you get into Thomas?
Okay, talking about the blue talking choo choo. Um, I can't really say like what age. I know I was probably like around 2 or 3, but I have very strong memories of like the very first time that I've seen Thomas, and it was with the VHS copy of the very first sing along with the songs from season 4, and I remember that being my very first time seeing Thomas was through that VHS tape, and then of course I had a lot of the toys growing up, like from Wooden Railway, Ertl, Take Along. I even had a Hornby set that came with Thomas and Percy, which was odd because this was like I was born in '94, so to have this set in a time before you can really purchase like stuff very easily and all was really weird. So I don't know how my mom got that set, but yes, like Thomas has always been in my life for as long as I remember. Like there'll be times where I may be a fan of a franchise at a certain age or something, but Thomas, I remember he was always there since day one. He's kind of like that childhood friend that's been with me for the past 32 years, and it's always been close to my heart compared to any other character or franchise that I've known.
I think a lot of people feel that way, that Thomas or Sodor is a place where we can escape to and be lost in its imaginative world of the old 60s, maybe 20s period where steam trains were the dominant form of transportation and they were majestic to look at.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is because looking at like the Rare Series books of how it has grown and how many events that occurred during the Reverend's lifetime when steam engines was being decommissioned from mainline service and replaced with diesels and being scrapped. Like, you got all these moments that was happening at that time, but yet Sodor still feels like that place that isn't defined to being in the present time. Like, it's not dated, nor is it like ahead of future. It's in this cozy time capsule that doesn't feel like it has become dated or anything, and it still feels so lively and something that you kind of wish we had, where it feels like this small island with a community that everyone knew everybody, and that's something that I feel like we're kind of losing touch of in today's society, because there's rarely anything as a small town now. Like, the town I live in has like close to 12,000 people living in it, and while that may be small to like some who lives in like over 100,000 or even over a million people living, we're losing the sense of that small town feeling where everyone knew everyone to now everyone is almost a complete stranger almost. So seeing like the aesthetics of Sodor within the setting is a nice refresher of what a small community or small town can feel like or look like even.
That's how I feel about Season 1, that it was a time before Sodor became overbloated with so many engines, and you got so many people to worry about, like, where is Boko, where is Duke, where's such and such. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to mention at the beginning that this year marks Delmar's 15th anniversary on YouTube, and he's currently holding a Q&A session, so the expiry date, if you want to ask him questions, will be on the 20th, so I should get this out very soon, and head on over to his channel to ask him whatever questions you want.
Oh yeah, because it is my 15-year anniversary. It's still weird to know that I've been doing this YouTube hobby for 15 years, and I think we've known each other since, gosh, 2015? 2014 even?
I think 2014 is too soon. It might have been 2016 or late 2015.
Probably, because I remember you were commenting, and then we became friends on Skype. Wow, that's a... Whew! I got nostalgic thinking about Skype, even though it no longer exists, but it's like, the memories of that.
Skype was a lot easier to record online, and I don't know what's going on with Discord. You need like a third party to record online, and I had so much trouble doing with Whack with Audacity, but I might need to use your OBS software that you're using to record, because I'm very appreciative involved.
Yeah, and OBS you can download for free, I believe. So, like, I've used it many times in the past, and even used it in some Q&A podcast recordings that I've done. So it's something I'm familiar with, and I believe is free that you can use online.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But for now, to add on what you were saying about Sodor, that it's this timeless place that we can enjoy, it's something that I wish I brought up in another video when talking about politics in Thomas the Tank Engine. Like, I wanted to say, which I didn't say in the video, was politics change, and it makes these types of stories outdated rather quickly. Because right now, or maybe it was a few years ago, where diversity was the main talking point, and you got to bring characters of different culture. Like, okay, it sounds good in theory, but in order to bring in more people, you have to exclude others. If you want to include more people, you have to exclude other people. And we saw that with Henry and Edward. They got the short end of the sticks. Like, sorry, we don't want you. We need to put in Rebecca and Nia, and they might have been fine on their own, but to replace core characters, like, that totally rubbed people off the wrong way. And I was one of the few people that was looking forward to, okay, they're changing the status quo. Like, let's see how Edward does in his new home, or how Henry does in his new home. They do nothing with it in Big World, Big Adventures.
Yeah, because it's weird, because I remember there was one scene from season 23, and it was a snow-related episode, and it was one where Percy crashed, and you see Henry and Gordon there, and then all these other engines coming together to be like, Percy, are you okay? And Henry doesn't speak at once. In fact, granted it's been a while since I've seen that episode. I think all the engines in that scene spoke except for Henry, so it's like, what was the point of putting Henry there if he wasn't gonna add like anything, like, or even him saying like, is everyone alright? You know, like asking. It's just, and it just feels weird. And you know, like, I don't mind big world, big adventures, but the problem I had with is that with Sordor, you at least are able to contain where most of the engines are at, but now with big world, big adventures, you had Thomas going over to like over in China, India, and it just seemed too wide scope that it's no longer contained, and it made it really confusing to kind of to get that suspension of disbelief in, you know?
Yeah, they try to bite off more than they could chew.
Yeah, more than they can bite off to chew.
Okay, let's move on quickly.
Okie dokie!
We're gonna go full steam ahead. Damn it!
Yes, my evil plan is working! Aha!
Curses of being influenced.
Yes, and we will probably have at least a couple more train puns here, so we'll be right back after these. Oh wait, we're not sponsored by anyone. Never mind, proceed.
You're full of poop poop.
That's okay, I guess we can make an exception for that.
Okay, so what are your favorite episodes or seasons? I think we could ask them as separate questions, but or even favorite characters.
Oh wow, that's definitely have to do a separate one, because trying to answer all of them at once, because like when in terms of favorite seasons, it depends on like how I view it. Like if I go by nostalgia or something, season 4 is pretty close to me, because again, when I watched that sing-along VHS tape, that was when season 4 was the current season at the time, and so I just have strong memories of the filming style and landscape of like the model sets at the time, with like the narrow gauge engines, and even with the warmthness of like the lighting of all around Sordor. So I just felt cozy watching those episodes. But in terms of like my actual favorite season,
Can I just say, with season 4, when I was a kid, I didn't realize I had all but one VHS tape of the season.
oh really? Which one were you missing?
It was a handle with trucks, a bunch of Duncan episodes, Skarloey returning home, but otherwise, actually, it was always weird to me when Peter Sam and the Refreshment Lady starts off with, "The handle had been naughty. Oh, did I just miss a crash?"
Yeah, and that, in fact, that was the episode that played on the Thomas and Friends sing-along VHS tape. So for me, being someone new, discovering, being like, who's the handle? Why did he crash? Who's Peter's? Who are you people? You know?
Yeah, I didn't realize how lucky I was with season 4.
Yeah. But then again, it's like, they usually when they do release home videos in stateside, they at least try to make it to where the continuity isn't too out there. Like, you wouldn't feel lost if you missed something in an episode or something like that. So at least I appreciate that whenever they release the Thomas on like VHS and DVD and sometimes Blu-ray, but that's mostly with the CGI specials.
This is one of the things that made Thomas age gracefully, that it was very story continuity driven, that it was sort of like a marketing ploy in a way, like with the handle that I was just talking about. Well, what happened to this guy? I got to know more about him, and if I was a lot older, I would go out there and find the VHS tapes to purchase them, and I'd probably have the complete collection.
Yeah, but another thing too, like even though it is continuity driven, there's also that sense of where if you watched like Like if you was to watch one VHS tape, you wouldn't feel completely messed out. You felt satisfied with what you had, and if you were intrigued and wanted to learn more about what went on during Sodor, or curious about what this particular engine, you can go buy another tape and find out. And you didn't feel lost in translation by missing out on anything. You felt content with what episodes you were presented with, and didn't feel like you had to play catch up or anything. It's not like if you watched it. I'm just using this as an example. Like if you watched it, Marvel's Loki or Captain America Civil War, you may be wondering, wait, how did this all time? You had to go back all the way to like I think the Incredible Hulk or Iron Man and stop there and then go down the ordering of all the shows and movies, which kind of feels like a chore instead of feeling free to be like, if you want to watch Thomas and you got a VHS from like season 5 or season 4, you didn't feel lost in the continuity. You just felt like, oh hey, look at these wacky trains, and if you feel comfortable, you can watch more and you can kind of get the pieces together about the events without feeling overwhelmed or lost in it.
I would argue there's exceptions with seasons 1 to 4 that were very continuity heavy, and maybe by extents season 5, but with seasons 6, 7, and definitely the hit era, I'd say that's more of what you were describing, that they weren't so continuity focused, so you could watch any episode in any order. But another case was Thomas Comes to Breakfast, when Thomas mentions Diesel, sir, like, oh, Diesel's going to replace Thomas. And I never saw the Daisy episodes as a kid, but I did see the Duck and Diesel episodes, so I always thought, oh, so this is how Diesel came into the fray.
Oh yeah.
Not quite.
Okay, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I was kind of lost there. So, yeah, sorry to disagree with you on that, but yeah, I mean, it's still good. Like with regarding continuity and a lot of shows that are more, what's the term? Like it's more serialized rather than episodic. Like episodic is a bunch of standalone stories, like Scooby-Doo, for example, but it may not necessarily be exhausting if it's still good. Like One Piece has been going on forever with over 1,000 episodes, and people still enjoy it. They still tune into the story, see what's next, and as long as it's not boring, as long as it's engaging, like it's answering the questions you want while still drip feeding you more questions, more mysteries that you want to solve or theorize, speculate, and yeah, it could still have longevity.
Yeah, I get you, and I didn't really, excuse me, and you were fine. I see where you would disagree with me on, and that's totally fine. But I would still argue that if someone watched the Thomas and was watching like a season 2 episode just for fun or something, they wouldn't be too lost. Like if they were just watching, like say, Thomas, Percy and Nicole, Old Iron, or I'm trying to think of another episode, Percy and Harold, then they'll be fine. But with some heavy story focus, more like Duck and Diesel trilogy, yeah, I would agree with you that they would have to watch those three in order to get the full story of that. So I see where you're coming from.
Imagine being introduced with Percy's predicament, and then at the end of the episode, this blue guy comes in and, who's this idiot?
Yeah, good point. Be like, meanwhile, Thomas came back. Wait, who? What? Wait, what about the engine that crashed? What?
Yes, so back to your favorites. Were we talking about the seasons of the episodes?
We would talk about seasons. Like, I was talking about, like, my favorites. If I had to pick, like, my favorite season without nostalgia guys or what I think is a perfect Thomas season, I'm actually gonna have to say maybe season 3, because it felt like that good balance of pacing, of the work of the models, the stories told in it. It just felt like a really perfect season for me. in terms of how it's structured and of the filming, the stories. Season 3 is probably my favorite. But I also have a very soft spot for season 8 because when that came out, it was 2004, and I was starting to kind of had trouble with, not depression or anything like that, but struggling with my mind and feeling a bit overwhelmed from like school and with my parents' divorce and all that stuff. And season 8 was that show that it was the season that felt closest to Theater Tugboat for me. A show that is very emotional based, where the conflicts weren't as super huge, but it was based on the tugboats having to go through like uncertain feelings or uncertainty and exploring those. And season 8 just felt like Thomas in the style of Field of Tugboat. And while I can't really say the rest of the hit era was perfect, season 8, I would argue, say has more of the better stories. And Steve Askowich, I maybe butcher his last name, I apologize, but the director who did season 8, I like how he structured like the shots and everything. So like for me, it's a tie with like season 3 and 8, and then 4, if I have to go by nostalgia. So those 3 are like my favorite seasons.
Okay, that's fascinating choosing a hit era season, but I kind of have a soft spot with season 11 in particular because it was around then I discovered YouTube and I realized I could look up Thomas episodes on YouTube instead of waiting on television.
Oh yeah, I agree there. Um, Also, if I had to choose a guilty pleasure season, uh, I would have to say season 15 because that was the season that was like fresh when I joined YouTube back in 2011. So I remember being involved with like people talk about the seasons and giving my 2 cents. So I'm not saying season 15 is good by any means, but it is sort of like that guilty pleasure nostalgic sense when I started YouTube, and that was like the season that was brand new at the time. And plus it was the first season where Butch spoke.
Yeah, maybe getting ahead with how you discover the fandom, but I think you bring up a good point about guilty pleasures that you're allowed to enjoy bad stuff as long as you know that the stories don't make sense, the characters are poorly written, or it's all kinds of things going haywire. But there can be certain levels of enjoyment to bad episodes or a bad story, what have you. And kind of seeing that with a Mario movie, but that's a whole other topic. And yeah, it's just Easter eggs the movie, the way I see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Galaxy movie yet, so no spoilers, please. But I have heard from some people that there's a lot that goes on. Some enjoy it, some didn't, and that's to be expected because the first one was kind of in that mixed range. And I personally enjoyed the first film, but I definitely prefer the Sonic films more because it doesn't feel like they are pushing so many references in front of you. It felt natural and all that. But anyway, I forgot where we were going with. Like, oh no.
Favorite. I was gonna ask favorite characters, but I just want to say to anyone on the Mario movies that say that well, they had to recast Charles Martinet as Mario and go with Chris Pratt because it would have been obnoxious hearing this lighter voice going yee wahoo hey, but French Mario completely debunks those theories because it is that voice.
Oh yeah, I remember you watched the French dub of the Mario movie.
Yes, I did, and so much better than the English version. But the way they went with Super Mario Galaxy instead of Super Mario Land, Super Mario World, or anything else, yeah, I'm giving Galaxy a pass. But back on Thomas the Tank Engine, we're gonna ask about your favorite characters.
Yeah. Oh wait, we haven't talked about the episodes yet. I know we mentioned some, but haven't mentioned like personal favorite stories or anything. Um, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Um, Interestingly, when I look back at like one of videos I did back in 2020, which was my favorite Thomas episodes per season, it still amazes me to how what I think is my favorite episodes of like each season still holds up from that old video. Like Henry's Forest is a really beautiful episode that really gave Henry this unique um, character want and desire and interest compared to the other engines, where the engines prefer like a new coat of paint or pulling the express. Henry finds joy in like the peacefulness of the forest and the trees blistering in the wind. And it's something unique that wasn't present in the books at all, and what makes me favor Henry in the model era compared to the books, or as Mech would call Henry in the Railway series, Green Henry, or Green Gordon. Um, and then, like, another episode I love so much is an episode from the season 8 called Thomas Saves the Day, where Thomas is having trouble. Like, he has this one bend, like this weird curved bend to a new station that he always has trouble going to, but the coaches remind him to slow down and take care. And it may not seem like a strong episode, but further along, Thomas, any clever are being like repaired or refurbished, so Thomas has to take some regular branch line carriages, and without hearing the coaches tell him that audibly, he gets stressed out and such, and then eventually near the end of the episode, he does remember like the words of the coaches being like, slow down and take care. And for me, that's a reminder of me to remembering like the words of Jesus, where life becomes overwhelming and such. I just remember Jesus speaking in the Sermon on the Mount being like, don't yet tomorrow overtake you, or do not worry about tomorrow, focus on the present, and he'll always protect us. And so that episode, Thomas Saves the Day, is like a reminder to me of remembering the words of Jesus and not to let my fears or anxieties control me or define me who I am. So that episode's kind of personal to me on that front.
Oh, that is sweet, because I remember Thomas Saves the Day is the one where there's a runaway with trucks and flatbeds, and then there's this big crash where the flatbeds flip over, like, whoa.
Oh yeah, that's
But,
right.
yes, I thought that was what you're going to talk about, but maybe we're going to rewatch Thomas Saves the Day.
Yeah, that is the episode I am talking about, where the flatbeds do crash like in the siding there. But that wasn't like the big focus for me. It was more about the message of it. So I do recommend watching it again. It's a really good episode.
That's a unique take.
Yeah.
So, as for your favorite characters, talked about Henry. Anything else you want to say, and any other characters you want to mention?
Well, I would like to expand more on Henry, because again, with that desire, because in the books, Henry kind of has like, again, what Mech would call Green Gordon vibe, because he was always rude and snotty and such. But with the model series, they took Henry and made him like this gentle giant. Appreciating things that an engine probably wouldn't think about much, like the forest or seeing grass or something like that, appreciating nature. And then I know this is often a complaint with Henry, where they made him more of a warrior. And while I will admit that they kind of drive that trope a bit too much at times, there are other circumstances where I kind of identify with that, because I tend to have the same with called abstract thinking, where like the best example I could think of is like if you were driving down the road and there was a semi-truck on the opposite direction, and your mind thinks of accidentally hitting that truck, even though it doesn't happen, and you don't think much of it. But like, especially when I was a teenager, I always had these moments of like, did I think something wrong to my friend, or what would happen about this and that? And it kind of reminds me of the episode where Henry pulls the express after so long, but Henry and the wishing tree, that's the story, my bad, where Henry wishes to pull the express, but he sees that Gordon is like being repaired or something. He's like, oh no, did I cause Gordon to be sick because I wished on that wishing tree? And I kind of have like similar vibes from like having those intrusive thoughts, but knowing, but it's like one of those things where I have to remember to not yet my mind playing games on me and look at reality and such. And so Henry kind of helped me in those episodes, even though they overplayed that trope many a times, to not yet my mind get the best of me and focus on what is true and what's factual, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. Like Henry is weird that maybe a worrisome character is relatable for a lot of people. I'm of the opinion that this should have been for another character because Henry was already altered in the model series with the environmentalism that he had going on, and they did delve into that a bit in the hit era with Henry and the Wishing Tree. But to make him a warrior, like a worrisome character, that could have been another new character because Hit Entertainment loved introducing new characters, even though a lot of them turned out to be one-offs. But yeah, it's quite a dramatic change that's hard to swallow for Henry.
Plus, not to mention, I think they gave that warrior trope to Toby and Edward a lot as well, if I recall.
Toby, it did stick around, and with Edward, it seems like they ditched it in the CGI series.
Yeah, I remember mostly from Saving Edward, from the season 9, where Edward kind of had that worrisome mentality of like, I'm not a really useful engine anymore, or something like that. I remember it was that episode that kind of gave that worrisome Edward vibes from it. And then, of course, Percy, there were many times where he was scared of something like the mine shaft that just buried underground in season 6. That was just messed up.
Wait, Percy was buried in a mine shaft.
Oh no, it
That was
was
Dunk.
what it was. Sorry, I interrupted you. It was Percy in a haunted mine, and Percy went to grab this load of boxcars, and then up ahead in the distance, a building just all of a sudden just collapsed like underground or something, just scaring Percy and runs away.
Hmm. Yeah, that was traumatic for Percy. Um, but regarding the worrisome characters, I'm remembering that Skarloey kind of had that going on with him as well. Much like Edward, Skarloey's personality was all over the place in the hit era, but also Fearless Freddy with the tracks. But yeah, I think we could go on to talk about worrisome characters, and a lot of them were older characters that we know how they should be talking, we know how they should be behaving, and Hit Entertainment just kept on changing their personalities because they need to have like internal problems rather than something external like that contributes to the world around them because they need to be teaching lessons.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with teaching lessons, but at the same time, you're kind of twisting characters and giving them weird phobias and such. Actually, I just now remember another episode where Edward was a little bit worrisome, and that was in season 11 with Edward and the mail, where he was afraid of not doing a good job of pulling the mail. I think that was the context of it.
It was. I thought that was. I used to think it was a good episode, but looking back, like, nah, this ain't Edward.
Yeah. Plus, I'm pretty sure Edward has pulled a mail. I think. I may be mistaken, but I feel like he did at least at one time.
So we've talked about favorite season episodes, and
Oh yeah, I
I
was gonna
guess
talk about some other characters as well.
yeah, other characters.
Yeah, I'll try to mention like maybe 3 other characters that I like. Another one that I find is kind of underrated is Nelson, the Lori from the Jack in the Pack spinoff. What I really like about Nelson is that granted, I know he didn't have that much screen time, but his story kind of showed of how even though he has like this job of having to haul these heavy machines back and forth, he doesn't go around with that job being all prideful, being like, "Look at me, I'm strong and mighty," or turning it into a negative way, being like, "I carry all these heavy machines, I deserve such and such." Like, sure, there is one moment where he's like, he wishes he could be carried instead of being the one to carry the others, but he doesn't yet that become his whole thing. He still does the hard work. Even when he hears that Thomas is in trouble, instead of being like, "I can't pull Thomas, he's super heavy," he instead runs over to help Thomas, even though he may not know the task of lifting or hauling a heavy engine like Thomas on his flatbed. And it's just an inspiring persona of like always doing your best without complaint or being prideful about your work.
I wish I could say I remembered more of Nelson. Like, he was only in the Jack in the Pack episodes. He wasn't in the actual seasons, was he?
No, he was like Patrick, the only character that appeared exclusively in the Jack spin-off. He didn't appear in like the Great Discovery, nor was he in the CGI series. He was just a Pack exclusive character.
Yeah, right. Because it was the last of the model series that I ever watched, which was only last year I decided to watch Jack in the Pack. Or maybe it was a few years ago, but it was what's the word? It was refreshing going back, watching model series episodes that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, it's almost like my kind of like the feeling I had when I saw the Down the Mine original pilot, seeing like brand new footage for the first time. It just felt so good watching a new model scenes from the model era that I hadn't seen take place. Like, it's just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, and I believe Jack in the Pack came out later because Hit Entertainment at the time didn't know what to do with them because they were produced alongside season 7, but Hit Entertainment owned Bob the Builder, so it's like, don't want to compete with ourselves. But at least they released them. They weren't lost media. It took a few years, but you know, it's better than the pilot episodes that took 40 years to come out.
Yeah, I think the Pack episodes, it was 2003 when they filmed, but then they didn't release them until 2006. Because I remember, remember my mom coming home one day from work, and she came to me like, "Hey, Daniel, I was at," I think she got like Kmart or something, be like, "I found this," and I'm like, "Oh, a new Thomas DVD," and then I saw Jack and Isabella Kelly on the cover, and be like, "Oh, are these stories of Jack in the Pack? That's cool." And yeah, that was just it was just really cool kind of see something, some new stories based on Jack, Alfie, because they were only in that the 2 season 6 episodes, and then they just disappeared from the series afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's would have been a fascinating time, like, to be in the present, like, new model Thomas, but we got that with the pilot.
Yeah.
Yep. So, moving on, we touched on this partially, but you discovered the Thomas fandom in 2011.
Actually,
So, like, how did you discover...
well, actually,
Sorry?
oh, my bad. I would say that was when I got into YouTube, but 2006 was actually the year that I discovered about the Thomas fandom being much bigger. Like, when me and my brother and mom moved into a house, it wasn't like that far of a drive from moving where we used to live in a trailer, but when we moved to our house, that was when I officially got internet for the first time in 2006. And that was like the Wild West for me, discovering like all this knowledge and information that I didn't know. And I used to go on like the Real Lives of Thomas the Tank Engine website, the Sword Art Island fan site, learning about the Railway series and the Thomas and Friends or Thomas and the Magic Railroad director's cut. Like, just a huge knowledge of all the stuff of Thomas. And then I discovered YouTube, and excuse me, the very first Thomas fan series that I watched was Captain Punjab's Thomas the Bachman model. And if you were to watch it now, it wouldn't be anything groundbreaking, but for me in 2006, it was like discovering brand new technology for the first time. Like seeing someone like this average person making their own Thomas stories with video software and posting it to online where anyone can view it at any time was just mind-blowing for me, and that led to discovering other Thomas YouTubers like Combine Harvester 01's Thomas the Model series, obviously the comedic duo of Miss Oliver Blossom and Train Lover 476. They were huge inspirations for me, and so yeah, but I didn't join YouTube until 2011 when I was 16, because I felt like I had to be at least 16 years old to have a YouTube account. I know that sounds silly, but I felt that was the right age, and so yeah, that's when I did, and I started with the Thomas Tank Engine Show.
Yeah, so I was pretty late to the party with the Thomas Fandom, which was actually you. With, of all things, it was the Calling All Engines video with, people don't like Calling All Engines, or what's wrong with it?
Oh yeah, my old Calling All Engines essay video.
Yeah, then I checked out your other videos and the Thomas comedy stuff. Like, the moment it clicked for me was the joke with Edward and Thumper. Like, can you imagine if I acted a newfangled nonsense and then bring up Edward Strikes Out and, oh my gosh, he gets it! I knew that was a bad episode!
Yeah, and I remember specifically using the dun 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 music as soon as I showed a clip from that.
Yeah, the very first Thomas comedy, Rusty and the Boulder.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah, thanks for making those.
you're welcome, I think.
Yeah, but I did discover Miss Oliver and Blossom not long after, and would you say Miss Oliver Blossom and Joey Turner were like the pioneers of Thomas parodies?
Obviously, it depends, because there was other parodies before they came around. Like, there was, of course, Thomas and the Killer Cars, Thomas Blows His Stack, the Mad Bomber. So they could be like quote-unquote parodies, because they were definitely a bit weird. I remember particularly this one Thomas parody called Thomas the Chav Engine. And it was such a weird... I'll have to link the video to you, because I don't know if you ever seen it, but it is a weird video. But the set models that they built for the engines are great. They were unique at the time.
I've never heard of Thomas the Chav Engine.
Yeah, and, well, Chav, C-H-A-V, which I think is... I may be wrong, but I think it's kind of like a British gangster. I don't know. Again, it's a weird, ridiculous video. You can smell... You could just reek the early 2000s, mid-2000s of it and such. But it was interesting. But in terms of, like, how my humor, like, how my videos are styled, it definitely was based on Miss Oliver Blossom and Train Lover 476. While it's been over a decade since I watched any of the old Thomas content, those were like peak for me. I remember like getting off from high school and going and seeing a new video by them and just having a good old time watching their videos, and they were like huge inspirations for me.
Yeah, talking about inspirations and I'm sorry, what were we just talking about?
Oh, like, did I listed like a bunch of random Thomas parodies before I talked about Miss Oliver Blossom, didn't I?
Oh, yeah, Thomas the Chav Engine. I've never heard of it before.
It was like a one-off by this two guys in I don't know where they came from, but Again, I'll have to link the video to you because it's a weird one. I don't even know if the original video still is even up on YouTube. I'm sure someone probably has re-uploaded it or something.
Yeah. Okay. I get to know about Thomas fandom history.
Yes. It's like, sit down, class. Let me tell you about the art 2000s.
I guess that's a perfect transition to how you wanted to start your YouTube channel. Though I guess you kind of answered it making Thomas parodies. But was there anything else to where you wanted to take your YouTube channel?
Well, another big inspiration for me, because around 2008 was when I discovered. Well, actually, there was two major influences for me. 2007 was when I was introduced to James Wolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd, and it was actually because of him that got me back into playing retro games. Like at the time, I was still playing like the Nintendo Wii, and PS3 was like that was the current gen at the time, but it was because of James Wolfe. If it wasn't for me discovering the AVGN series, I probably would have lost my N64 years ago. And he sort of like igniting that passion of keeping my Nintendo 64 and appreciating video games and such. And then a year later, I discovered the Nostalgia Critic with how he reviewed movies and such. And so aside from making Thomas parodies, I wanted to kind of make my own review series like the Nostalgia Critic and Angry Video Game Nerd. And that became the Delmar Show, which I did for about 8 years. I didn't start it until 2012. I know that much. And even though looking back in my very first episode of Delmar Show, it's dated extremely, but I remember having a blast making it, like learning how to record VHS footage and recording it to my computer, filming myself on a camera like Doug Walker did and such. And also, I think it was probably the very first person on the internet to actually do a comedic review on the Trolleys, which is a huge nostalgic bomb for me. So it just the fact of making it was more fun than the actual video that it turned out. You know, I still have good memories about that.
Yeah, that's nice. As long as you're proud of where you book your videos further and not be ashamed of oh man, this is so immature. I don't know what I was thinking. You kept going forwards with the talent that you had.
Yeah, I mean, granted, sometimes it's hard to kind of watch some cinema videos, not because of like cringe humor or anything, but rather just because of knowing where I was at that time, where I was more of a lukewarm Christian, and how I perceived humor by like I wasn't like a cusser heavily like James Wolfe was with his AVGM videos, but I did cuss semi regularly in my videos. But I still have the memories of like making them and seeing them and revisiting them once in a while, and being like, oh wow, I did this at a time and such, and you know, memories of filming with my friends and just learning how to form a video editing techniques and such. And so you gotta remember looking at your past, but don't be stuck in it. Learn to take what you've learned from back then and how you can improve upon it.
Exactly. And Miss Oliver Blossom has openly shared his disappointment and embarrassment with his early videos, but if anything, you could say they paved the way for his redubs with Joey Turner and only made a few of them, but they were so damn funny.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen one redub of Busy Going Backwards, but I know they did one with Bill and Ben. Was it Bill and
Yeah,
Ben?
that was their last one.
Okay. I hadn't watched it, but I I remember the thumbnail where they were kind of doing like this Banjo Kazooie theme like thumbnail with it.
Oh, I gotta show you if you haven't seen it, mate. It's like Ooh, is that 10 years old? I remember when it was new.
That's what happens when years go by. It's like, in fact, what was interesting, I was actually having that kind of moment as well, because me and my brother was watching this YouTube short of someone ordering a meal from McDonald's from like 1996 and comparing the prices of that to currently. And me and my brother was like, 1996 to 2026. Wait, that was 30 years ago? And man, we just felt it's like, 30? No, it can't be that long.
um, Before we go further, I did want to talk about James Wolfe and how he made you want to preserve your Nintendo 64. I find that interesting because James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, would riff on old video games. So it's like he would trash them. I think he would destroy them, if my memory serves correctly. So what made you... How did James Rolfe, the biggest critique of old video games, made you want to protect your Nintendo 64?
Well, what it was, he, with the angry video game nerd, it started out because when he made his first reviews on Castlevania 2 and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for NES, those were games that, as a character, said ruined his life as a kid because they were like bad back then and they were bad now. But it wasn't so much of the bad video games that made me want to keep my N64. What it was essentially of looking at these older video games, because I didn't have an NES or a Super Nintendo growing up. I just had the Nintendo 64, and then I moved on to like the PS2 and GameCube, Xbox, and then moving on to the Wii and PS3. But then it was like when I was watching James Rolfe's videos, it was like there's a huge library of games dating back from years before I was born, many of them that were pioneers that really set foot what video games were, like how Mario defined what a side-scrolling platformer was, or how Final Fantasy or Zelda just opened a world of exploring this world with dungeons and rescuing princesses and whatnot. And also the fact that with the N64, as a kid, I had fond memories of playing like Mario 64, Mario Kart. Excuse me, I almost get my first getting a little bit dry. But like just all these memories of like the N64 and realizing that at that time there wasn't really like a way that you could play your old video games unless you had the system with you. This was before I learned about emulation. And so it's like I loved these games as a kid and I want to keep them. And then that made me wonder, wait a second, I have an N64 still. And I didn't play like Ocarina of Time as a kid. So having a sister with me and buying the game is like, oh, I can experience this. And it made me realize that the older games were just as fun as the current games at the time. And while my video game collecting days aren't as strong as I was back in like 2008 or 2007, I still appreciate the fact that I kept my own Nintendo 64 because it means a whole lot to me.
Exactly. It's like memorabilia.
Yeah. And granted, I'm not going to say there were times where I was wanting to get a complete N64 collection, but 25% of those are sports games, and bugger if I'm going to play Madden 1999 or something. But like keep the games that are important to me, like games like Duck Dodgers starring Daffy Duck or Mickey Speedway USA. They weren't major system sellers or was even amazing games, but they're special to me and I love them, and I'm happy to still have the cartridges that I rented from my renting store back then.
Aye. Yeah, renting store back when we used to rent games or rent DVDs.
Yeah, I miss those, honestly. I really do.
Yeah, it was kind of a way to, long before streaming, where you open up and maybe try out some new things, and they literally had a section of like of new shows and um new shows, new movies, maybe new games. It's funny that I remember watching Powerpuff Girls movie. Little did I know, despite the movie being an origin story for the Powerpuff Girls, the show had already ended.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was so funny looking back.
So it's kind of the opposite of Jimmy Neutron, where I still watched the movie first, but at least with Jimmy Neutron, it was followed up with a TV show. But with Powerpuff Girls, it was the other way around.
Yeah, oh gosh, I remembered how, because of all the channels that I watched as a kid, I was a Nickelodeon kid, and I remember when they showed some of the early Jimmy Neutron shorts to tie into the movie, I was like, oh, this is so cool, and we actually went and saw the Jimmy Neutron film in theaters, which was just amazing, and like, Jimmy Neutron was a great show. It really was.
Yeah, there was something special about it, and whether the science was accurate or not, there was a certain creativity, inventiveness, and even tension with its villains. It was also some continuity by some extent with the Twonkies, but I don't think they ever resolved that.
Yeah. What's interesting with Jimmy Neutron, I remember when the show was coming to the end around 2006, 2007, they actually add episodes in the wrong order. Like I remember this there was a 1 hour special called League of Villains, and it had like all the different villains from Jimmy Neutron getting together to stop him. And when they were showing clips of some of the villains' defeats, there were some episodes where I was like, hang on, when did that happen? Or being like, who's this talking baby here? And those episodes came out weeks after that special aired on Nickelodeon. So it was really weird watching a special that I guess was supposed to end the series at that time, and then watching the episodes afterwards. It's like, okay, now I get you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It seemed like Jimmy Neutron had found its footing. Like after a bunch of standalone episodes, they were ready to go into new heights and really go out there explore the galaxy. I think they did time travel in one episode or a few. But yeah, the show ended because I think Nickelodeon thought CG animation was too costly.
You're somewhat close. I know that they were ready to go with a fourth season, but unfortunately, I think the animation company that did Jimmy Neutron was going into bankruptcy, I remembered, and thus they had to kind of pull the plug. In fact, I think that actually affected the last Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, where they had to have the animation be done more on the Ferry Parents animation more than the CGI, because they were running out of budget to do all that.
I've heard before that was the reason they spent more time in Fairly Odd Parents than they did in Jimmy Neutron. Like that was the reason. It was for budget reasons.
Yeah, so that and you can definitely tell because of the more where we visiting more screen time with.
Yeah. So back to the questions. I believe I've asked all the YouTube stuff, like where you want to take your channel, your inspirations. Why not we talk about some of the Thomas series that you made? So first there was the Thomas Wooden series, then it was Comedies and Meeple Railway. So shall we start in order?
Yeah, so the Thomas Tank Engine Show, that was a series. It was definitely heavily inspired by Miss Oliver Blossom and Train Level 476. And the reason why I went with the wooden engines is because obviously, one, that was the range I had most of the characters of. And two, I was thinking because I kind of wanted to be in that group. I know that sounds immature, but at the time, I wanted to be part of a group, and I figured since Miss Alpha Blossom did model trains, and then Train Level 476 did Tomy, I would do Wooden Railway to kind of even it out. And of course, I never really spoke to them. Actually, I did speak to Train Level 476 one time on Skype with a couple of my friends, so that was kind of cool. I don't remember what we talked about, but yeah. But um, but yeah, the show was just kind of this goofy little fourth wall breaking thing, and uh, while I remember the pilot episode being rushed, the first episode, I got introduced to a lot of great people. Like, that's when I met Thomas Fan 101, aka Locky. We became best friends since 2011, so we've been friends for 15 years. There was other cast members as well, like the Sword of Steamworks. Um, then there was Thomas. I forgot his name, but he voiced as Stanley, and we talked a little bit, and he was pretty cool. And then I I don't know what happened, why it ended the Thomas Tank Engine show, but I think it was because when I got into Thomas Comedies, I felt like I had more fun with that than I did with the Thomas Tank Engine show, especially since I was confined to my small bedroom in my home. Uh, but it was still kind of interesting making my first Thomas parody series using my old Wooden Railway collection.
Yeah, and would you say part of the fun with Thomas Comedies is that the plot was already written for you because they were based on the official episodes?
Probably, yeah. It probably made it easier since I could just make jokes around it. Uh, but I think a big thing is that I could also alter the plot. So, like for example, a better view for Gordon. In the actual episode, Gordon didn't really have a phobia of walls, but when I rewatched the episode, I just thought Gordon having a phobia of walls. Okay, yes, get that to work, and I just made this weird scenario where Neil uh, gave Gordon like this phobia of a wall and all that stuff, and it was just really random and crazy, but that really made me think outside the box of what I could do with a Thomas story, that I could stretch the concept out and just be ridiculous with it. And over time, my art with comedies has gotten better, uh, especially since after the Magic Railroad movie, my art for it has gotten better, where I can be more abstract and wacky. And a definitely big inspiration for that comes from Ren and Stimpy, of making sure to not reuse the same expressions and just kind of go all out with it if possible.
Yeah, like it is funny, like completely distorting the faces on characters to like really big mouths or really big eyes or messing around with the pupils.
Yeah, and like I know for some people it's hard to look at Ren and Stimpy given the creator, but for me, Ren and Stimpy was the show that made me fell in love with animation. Like the fact that you could take emotions like happy, sadness, angry, to take a simple emotion and being able to express it in multiple ways, no matter how ridiculous it could be. You could make someone smile super big, or make a frown super frowny, or even just make fear of them screaming out their own lungs or something. It just made you realize you could take like these simple emotions and you can find multiple ways of expressing it. And it's just something that I always appreciate about the original Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, so I was in Australia. I live in Australia and had ABC Kids, and there was a lot of Cartoon Network's Nickelodeon shows that it didn't get on ABC Kids. It was, well, whatever was on that channel, so kind of missed out a lot of the classic American kids shows. But to add on what you were saying about the way you can really exaggerate character faces, I'm discovering you can mess around with the teeth, like to make them really sharp or make them really blocky. Or you would have seen this recently, and I'm gonna put it in the villains video with Hector, because I didn't know how to stretch his face to like draw it, because my artistry is very, very, very limited. But the way I went about with Hector's face is to like give him sort of these tusks to like exaggerate how menacing his smile is. Like,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's like, okay, how do I stretch the cheeks and the teeth? And basically, the tusks was a cost-cutting measure on my part. Like, rather than drawing more teeth and making them more narrow than they already were, the tusks was sort of yeah, sort of lazy way of going about it.
Yeah. Actually, that reminded me of something that I did in the Life on Display miniseries, where I remember one of the trucks in the short involving Daisy and George arguing. I had the troubles of truck. There's a shot where his tongue is shaping the letters of help on there. I thought, I remember doing that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of this." It was just so cool to do that.
Yeah, because when you're making a parody series, like, just go crazy. And I really wanted to bring up the difference in satires, like with comedies. Like, I believe when characters are committed to the stupidity, it amplifies the comedy in magnificent ways compared to the tongue-in-cheek Marvel-style humor where it just the characters are pointing out the stupidity and the cringeworthy stuff. Like, yeah, we know. Like, leave it to the YouTubers to make the parodies of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, especially if I compare, like, my humor to now, a lot of my humor stems around mostly based on, like, old cartoons of, like, the 30s and 40s. So, especially, like, how I portray Thomas, where he's more of a screwball character. He's not an idiot, but he's like this kid who is on the ultimate, yeah, like a kid on the ultimate sugar high and is willing to do anything ridiculous and such. So kind of like a Screwy Squirrel from Tex Avery or Bob Clampet's portrayal of Daffy Duck in the old Looney Tune cartoons. Like a character who's just wacky and zany, but he's not a complete idiot and just wants to see the world burn almost. And and like I remember when I wrote the script for the episode where Thomas takes Skarloey around Sordor, like I don't know when this happened and where I made Thomas think Skarloey is like this tiny miniature pup or something like that. I don't know why, but just for some reason it cracks me up to see this engine take Skarloey, who's like this old warrior engine, who's brave and seen everything, and only see him as a cute little adorable plushie. I want to dress him up or something like that, you know?
I think it's the same perception that Hit had that the mini engines were like kids and oh look at these little baby engines.
Gosh, could you imagine what would have happened if they were riding when the All-Steel engines were introduced?
Uh yeah, I don't know. Yes, they're smaller engines, but the baby engines were what the narrow gauge engines were what they became with the Arsdale engines. Well, who knows? I mean, I would love to see more stories, and there was Legend of the Lost Treasure that's kind of original for them, and they got a brief appearance in Daisy's Christmas special in season 21.
Oh yeah, they were like redecorating the little hopper thing and such.
Yeah, they were, and disappointed that was the last we saw of them.
Actually, didn't they appear in that little engine competition? Or like the small
Yeah,
layout?
that's right.
Yeah, which was just crazy seeing all these different engines of different gauges just coming together and such. All to see, wait, this is for a railway layout? Dash it all!
That is such a clever idea, and I'm pretty sure it addresses like many fans' confusions, like small engines. So we're talking about Thomas. No, we're talking about Rheneas. No, we're talking about the small railway engines. No, what made them small in the title?
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on a sec. Yeah, so I'm having fun with this. It's just, whew.
Yeah. So we were talking about Thomas Comedies, about expressions, and want to talk about Thomas Meeple Railway.
Yes, that one. I have to say, it's weird too, because I wasn't around the time with 2020, I wasn't really thinking about collecting Thomas merch. I did collect some small stuff, like I obviously got the DVD of The Adventure Begins and Sordor's Legend of Lost Treasure, but I didn't really think about collecting merch, but I just kept seeing the Thomas Wood range, like seeing like the Thomas Wooden Railway and then being converted to Thomas and Friends Wood. It was so drastic for me, and how the exposed wood, it was like, what have they done to my boy? But didn't really think about collecting them, obviously. But then there was a Homestar Runner short called Meeple Groove Market, which a meeple is like a little playable figure in like a tabletop board game that somewhat resembles a person, but in like the most basic shape. And for some reason, when I watched that short, I remembered the Thomas and Friends Wood line. I'm like, wait a second, I can make a joke here. So I got like the circular set with Thomas, so Topham hat and a bench, along with Henry, and I made a short, and it was quite funny. And then I just started thinking about more ideals of taking these wooden toys and making a railway. And it was, to quote my friend Steam Power Cyborg, who said, the Thomas the Tank Engine show helped make Thomas Meeple Railway run, because it felt like an advanced version of the Thomas Tank Engine show, but into its own thing. And while it is hard work to film Meeple Railway, because the studio lighting that I use makes the bedroom incredibly hot, but I have a blast with Meeple Railway, just because of how I can film with the lighting and building simple sets and doing all these random scenarios with the engines and making the island of Sordor this magic 8-ball with something absolutely bonkers goes on. It's just incredible.
And you have another season on the way.
Yes, I do. Season 3, which episode 21 is completed, but there's a special occasion that I'm waiting before I release it. I can't say anything else because I don't want to spoil anything, but it is coming. It's coming very soon, so that's something I'm really excited to see people look at. The only reason I took a long break from it is because I was focused on other stuff at the time, so it was like a nice little breather before continuing on, like a hiatus, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. You were also working on the remake of Thomas and the Bold. No, sorry, Rusty and the Boulder.
Yeah, as well as the Life on Display miniseries, which that was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, I'm also left in the dark about this special occasion for the next episode, so I'm just as in the dark as the rest of the audience.
Yeah, I would explain, but I've taken an oath of silence so that way to not spoil it. But you'll see. It'll be good, trust me.
All right, I will trust you. And I don't know if you want to talk about cancelled projects in your videos, because there were a few Thomas Comedies, and you sort of reworked them as like the scrapped series.
Well, the stuff from the recycling episode wasn't so
Yes,
much on.
episode.
Yeah, it wasn't so much scrapped episodes, but just gags that I thought of for years, but didn't know how to incorporate them into a full story. So that's why it became this sort of mini segment, multi sketch episode. But I have been guilty of writing a lot of scripts, but either getting stuck on something or the project is like held back due to some reason, either a voice actor's too busy or something happens. A lot of stuff goes on as to why something is like canceled, just either due to like change the interest or something. And I know a critique that you have mentioned me before, and is valid, of where I focus on too many projects at once instead of focusing on one, which I have been doing better yet over the years.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about bringing up the critique of mine, because I'm not trying to shame you. You were asking for people to send their lines, but hadn't episodes don't come to fruition, and I thought, okay, there's no point of sending in lines for videos that aren't going to happen. And well, let's just say for another project, I'm kind of guilty of that myself.
Yeah, so and it's okay to admit that, like you're not shaming me and it is a proper critique and I appreciate that a lot. I know you're not the first one to mention it. I know Lachlan and Mekachu has mentioned it about that, and so I appreciate the feedback because it helps us to learn and to build and to try better. And so I have tried to not do so many projects at once, which can be a shame because I think of so many ideals, and that can be a hindrance of like creativity. It's like, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. No, I want to do. You get jumbled with all these ideals that you want to do, but don't know which one to do first.
Yes, and I'm not sure if you want to bring up when you told me you wanted to take your channel back because you were getting ideas from me and you're getting ideas from other people, and you were saying that this isn't how you want to pursue your series. Like, you want your series to be yours, which, yeah, it may sound selfish, but it is your channel, so you like have a rights to the creative calls of what you want to put up on your channel.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes from the fact that I am kind of, this may be a little confusing trying to mention, but I sometimes get worried of being overly superpowered, like I'm not sharing the experience or allowing people's ideals in. And I get nervous about that if I become too selfish, but I also have to remember that if I don't like a certain joke or think someone as ideal isn't as bad, I shouldn't be ashamed to say no, but I should also say, like, yes, see if we could turn it into this direction or something like that. Um, and so, I have to kind of have that self confidence in of learning the difference between expressing an idea where I may not appreciate, may not think works well for me versus, no, this is my channel, you shall obey my commands or something. It's like an act of like working together, and thankfully, a lot of people have been supportive. Be like, if you don't think this ideal isn't that good, that's totally fine. And so it's really assuring of like knowing that this is my channel, and if I don't like an ideal, that we don't have to do it. It's not being a mean person. It's just what I think is good for the channel, what might be good for other people.
Yes, and you want to feel like you own yourself in a way. And I once saw an episode with a quote that went along the lines, "Artists are meant to be selfish," and that seemed kind of rude. But being a creative myself and trying to make YouTube my own job, I do kind of get it. Now, with me, if I'm asked to be part of a particular video, then I will do my part because it is their vision in a way. Whereas I am admittingly protective of my own work, like with the scripts and maybe some edits here and there. But yeah, I do try to talk to my co-workers, like Terrence Attractor 525, who I used to do the Sodal series with, like, this is why I want to have it this way, so it makes sense for later on, or if it's a funny gag. And there needs to be a fine balance when working together with people. And yeah, it can get ugly from experience. As long as you remain calm and don't resort to insults to say, like, no, you're stupid, I want it to be my vision because I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's best if you're working on your own for your own terms. But to, if you want people to work for you, you got to like be persuasive and kind, and you got to be rational about these things when you're working in a group that's trying to bring a vision to other people. And yes, you don't want the vision to be compromised with the saying too many chefs in the kitchen can lead to disastrous results. But as long as everyone's on board, then I think there will be some magic created.
Yeah, it's one of those things of just working together and knowing each person's strength and weakness and knowing your strength and weakness as well. Uh, but also too, like I know there are times where one like especially one who has a perfectionist issue, because it's hard for someone to see another person's mind of how they view a certain scene or how a certain line should be said or something. And there's nothing inherently wrong with perfectionism, because you will love to have it your way, but when you have a huge group of people, you also gotta learn to not yet it be your control. That you have to learn another person being like, I don't know if this is the right way. If we could maybe try this line or try this take or something, and understand from their perspective, and not yet your perfectionism be a tightrope for those who will love to suggest ideals or something like that.
Yes, and I won't name this person, but in one video, there was a guy who wanted to make some rewrites to the script, but like, mate, everyone else is sending in their lines. It's like we can't rewrite this, and that wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about other hobbies beyond Thomas. So, what gaming franchises are you particularly fond of?
Okay, I know we mentioned about Thomas, but I'm just gonna mention this very quickly. I've been addicted to Thomas and Friends Wonders of Sordor. It is just a perfect game for me, despite a little bit of the kerfuffle with the prices, and I'm kind of concerned how they're gonna go in the future. But overall, the game I'm loving. It's been relaxing, so I'll just leave it at that. But as for other franchises of like video games,
Sorry. I gotta mention with Wonders of Sodor, why is James $20?
yeah, I mean, it's for his splendid paintwork to be rendered perfectly in the game.
And it's funny these days with gaming, there's a lot of talk around live services and how so many die off so quickly. And I don't know if Wonders of Sodor is gonna be that, but considering how large of a cast Thomas Tank Engine has, they could bring in so many characters, and for all we know, they could bring in CGI renders of Boko, the Coldy engines, and maybe other characters, which would be interesting, and it would make Wonders of Sodor's a live service. See how that goes. But yeah, let's talk about other video games.
Yes, like I love Mario. Obviously, like I've always grown up with Mario from like Super Mario 64 and playing all the games. I just love the sense of adventure and discovery, and seeing how they take Mario to like new lands and such. And so like I loved the Mario franchise for it, and of course Mario Kart. I've been heavily addicted with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for back when the Switch was brand new and such, and probably put in about close to 200 hours of the game.
I remembered when I was able to access the Wi-Fi and getting to play Mario Kart online with so many people. Ah, that was nice.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, fantastic game. But like I'm also a big fan of the Ratchet and Clank series on the PlayStation, just because I just love the humor, the writing of the games. The weapons are super fun to use. So many iconic ones, and they're just really fun, addictive platforming games on the PlayStation series. And then what else? What other fan? I also like Tetris, just because it's a nice game to just help your brain out. You feel like a smart cookie after clearing 150 lines.
Yeah, we get all those points for like clearing what seems to be the entire screen.
Yes, it's satisfying, you know?
Yeah, and me, I'll just mention a few of my own. Like, I loved Pokemon as a kid, but kind of dipped out because they can never give us a proper shark Pokemon, We only got half a shark in Sharpedo and a land shark, Garchomp, but we never got a proper shark.
Huh. Now that you mention it, Sharpedo is just a half a shark.
I'm telling you, mate, if they don't bring us a shark Pokemon when they base their next region on Australia, then, oh, I'm gonna be mad.
Oh dear. I better duck and cover because it's like there's an Aussie who's very, very mad.
Yes, and, I want to ask, Ahmed the Dead Terrace, which is more deadly, terrace or Australian wildlife?
Oh boy, that'll be an interesting question for him.
Yes, Jeff Dunham is coming to my hometown, and hopefully he does his little Ask Ahmed thing, and maybe he will pick out my question if he does it again.
Oh, if he does, you have to let me know the response because that would be a really interesting question for Ahmed.
Yeah, so there's. How do we go from Pokemon to Jeff Dunham?
Hey, you did it, not me. My hands are off this.
So, talk about some gaming franchises that I'm fond with Pokemon, and there was the Star Wars Jedi Knight games. And do you remember Buzz Jr.?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, Buzz Jr. was so much fun to play with people. Yeah, hence the name Junior. They were pretty kiddie, but some of the animations were hilarious. But I didn't play the final game, and watching cutscenes of how Buzz Jr. Racing played out, they put helmets on the characters so you don't see their faces.
Ah, but that's the fun to see the fear in the eyes.
And we were talking about how fun it is when you can exaggerate the faces.
Yeah, it's like, come on, I want to see the fear when they crash into the wall.
Yeah, and that was the last of Buzz Jr. Quite a miserable note to go out on.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring him back one day.
Yep, so there's those, and funny enough, I'm not sure what it is with Smash Brothers or when, but seeing all these iconic Nintendo properties, which I hardly played, I was getting into some of them, like Metroid got into Bayonetta, which thank you Nintendo for releasing Bayonetta 1 and 2 simultaneously together. And I tried to get into Zelda, but I looked up the walkthrough so many times of where to go, like I don't think I can be a Zelda fan.
Question, which one were you playing?
I did complete Ocarina of Time, and about 10 minutes into Majora's Mask, like, this isn't for me.
Yeah, Majora's Mask. I know there's a lot of people who love the game, and I do like the story and the theories, but as the game, it's a bit stressful for me. There's some people that can use the 3-day mechanic perfectly. I am not one of those, so I'll just stick to reading the manga, if that's okay.
Yeah, because isn't it on a timer before the moon crashes into the planet?
Yeah, it's like it's technically 3 days in game before the moon decides to crash land on top of such. But I forgot the actual like how long it actually takes for the moon to land in game. Like if it takes 30 minutes or an hour, I'm not sure, but just a bit too stressful for someone to be like, oh boy, a new Zelda game! I can't wait to. Wait, what's this timer? What's the timer for? Wait, is that a moon with a face and it's... Why is it coming towards me?
I just can't play a game like that where it's bad enough with Legend of Zelda. It's not always clear where to go. And on top of that, there's a timer before you get a game over.
Yeah, I don't do well with time missions in games. I mean, I do sometimes decently, but depends on like a game timing. Like, it just stresses you out beyond belief.
Yeah, and finally, I gotta mention, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm taking over, but I gotta mention Half-Life. So I got into Half-Life through during lockdown, and man, those games are so much fun, especially how they were revolutionary for their physics. But yeah, it would be so much better. Like, we should be up to Half-Life 12 by now, but they haven't done a Half-Life 3.
Well, is it... Wait, didn't they leak the script afterwards?
I heard there was a leak. I haven't looked into it, but let's just say with the events of Half-Life Alyx, Half-Life 3, if I get around to it, it has been rewritten.
Huh.
So if you know Half-Life Alyx, which is a VR game, it it changes the trajectory of where Half-Life was going.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that the last time we were talking online.
Yes, I have become a fan of Half-Life, and yeah, now like everyone else, I am begging on my knees and my hands for the developers just make Half-Life free. Like, I don't think you can improve the gameplay any forward. Like, we've seen what games can be. They've done everything. What we want is a story.
It's like you're begging with hands and he's like, oh, please, 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 give us some of the half-life. It will make my life full.
It's also been 6 years since the VR game, and it's become a meme with the Game Awards that people speculate that they're going to announce Half-Life 3 at the Game Awards. Like, oh, I've heard from a reliable source it's going to come out at the Game Awards. Just wait, they're going to announce it. There's going to be a trailer. And it's... oh my gosh, the first time it happened was with that awful trailer, Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet, and that was it. That was the last of the trailers. Oh man, the backlash. It wasn't just Half-Life related, it was just the trailer. Like, it was awful. The character was so unlikable.
That's bad.
Yeah, and it doesn't look good for the developer Naughty Dog. But anyways, back to you. Let's talk about some hidden gems. And this could be with movies or games. Is there a hidden gem that you would recommend to everyone?
Oh dear, I don't know what classifies as a hidden gem, because obviously, like, a first thing that comes to mind to like a hidden gem, it's definitely based on nostalgia. The Trolleys all new musical adventure. Like, it may not be good for most people, but for me, it was just an amazing VHS that I had as a kid, and looking back on it, like, the jump of production value and scope that they went from the first Trolleys VHS tape is like night and day. And, I've probably am thinking of doing another video talking about it, just because, well, it just made an impact for me. But in terms of like actual like underrated good stuff, one of the things is of course the Laika and stop motion animations. Some people's known about them, but I feel like a lot of people haven't got the chance to watch them because they make such beautiful stop motion films like Kubo and the Two Strings, the Bigfoot film, the Box Trolls. They're just a wonderful animation company, and it's sad that the films aren't as watched as much. So I would like to see people watch them. Although in
Yeah, I'm
terms,
glad you brought up.
oh,
I'm
go
glad you
ahead.
brought up Studio Like. Yeah, Studio Laika. I think they're incredibly underrated studio. They got some excellent movies. Even their least popular reviewed, which was the Box Trolls, even that's got positive reviews. So I do think they put out hits. It's just some reason they don't get as much attention as they deserve. But they are coming out with another movie this year in October, Wildwood.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, please be good. Please bring this back, because I don't know how long they can keep going with Missing Link. The Bigfoot movie was a bomb, and I don't think Kubo was a hit either. So they can only survive on that Coraline re-releases for so long.
Yeah, what's actually interesting with Kubo, I actually remember years ago, when the film was coming out, my local movie theater was mentioning that it was coming, but then when me and Chris went over, they didn't have a showing of Kubo and the Two Strings. They pulled it for a different movie or something, which was a shame, really, because it's like we wanted to watch it, yet cool, but they pulled it for some other stupid generic action film or something. I don't know.
Damn. Um, Luckily, I got to see it. And yeah, that was a beautiful movie. Like the characters with Beetle, and I believe it holds a record for the biggest stop motion puppet in existence.
Yeah, I think so, because that thing was ginormous. And I thought the machine that the villain from Box Trolls was walking was the biggest puppet. No, they upped it with that giant red skeleton thing.
These guys are masterclasses of stop motion animation. Like it, I mean, they could be compared to Aardman, but ugh,
Well, they're
I don't
both
know. I don't want a ward between them. I just think it's great that we got two really good studios that are excellent at stop motion animation, and they do make good movies out of them. I just wish that Studio Laika got the attention they deserved.
Yeah, although with the whole comparison of Laika and Almond, they're two vastly different from each other. Where Laika focus like fantastical worlds and mystery, and Almond is more slice of life British home country films. So they're very much different to be compared. It's kind of like with Theater Tugboat and Tugs, where people say like which is better, even though while they're both based on boats, they are both drastically different. Though I'm just gonna have to say Theater Tugboat is much better than Tugs. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and mention that since we all talk about underrated, Theater Tugboat, it does not get any of the love. It is a wonderful show. I love it so much. Tugs is okay, but Theater Tugboat just has much more heart and love, and it's sad whenever you want to talk about Theater Tugboat, the conversation immediately turns over to Tugs, and it's like, but I love Theodore. I don't care about the 10 cents. I'm giving my 2 cents here that Theater Tugboat is amazing and people need to watch it more.
I'm just remembering there was another series you did, and I think it was Ferry Fred.
Oh yeah, that's right, the Ferry Fred Funnies. That one's
Yes,
a cute little show. Not too bad.
yes. I was hoping, like, I'm not confusing Theodore Tugboat with that, am I?
No, because Fairy Fair Funny was made in Australia, and it was more kind of puppetry based, instead of being like an actual remote controlled model. Whereas Theodore Tugboat is the Canadian show, uh, and even though the models were a little bit more bouncier than the ones at Tugs that had more weight, it has that. What I loved about Theodore Tugboat the most compared to Tugs is that it focused more on the characters, and if they're struggling with like an emotion, like with anger or having an funny feeling about something, and it explores that, and it's just a really cozy, laid back show that isn't too hectic, and it's just a really nice, relaxing show with very likable characters.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry to say I never seen either, but even as an Australian, I never saw Ferry Fred.
Yeah, well, it came out, I think it came out in 1980, 1989, 88, on like ABC Kids for like a very short time. Although, interesting enough, the props actually are still around. Like someone
Yay.
bought the props and is currently restoring them. So I'm like, oh, they're still around. That's really cool.
He could get a continuation.
Almost. Although I think the same guy who bought the props is also trying to do a restoration for the episodes. So there should be a DVD release sometime in like 2027 or something. I'm gonna have to take a year because it's been a while since I looked into that.
And on a somewhat related note about old media being recovered in some capacity, Disney has lost the license to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and now it's back in the hands of its creator.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
I. Oh yeah, that's right. I think you were the one that told me about that actually last year.
Yes. Yeah, that was fascinating news. Like, oh, so because Disney did nothing with it, they've lost the license.
Huh. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, now if only they could stop making Star Wars so they can go back to George Lucas.
I just wanted to do more stuff with the Muppets, but the new Muppet show that we got last month was actually really good. Like, I was really impressed with how they made it.
Speaking of hidden gems, that Wii U game that was like a influenced by Persona. What was that game?
Oh, you mean Tokyo Mirage Sessions?
Yes, I remember you were very fond of that.
Yes, that's another good one. It did get a re-release on the Switch with a brand new side quest story, and I did enjoy that one a lot. It may not be super deep compared to Persona, but I haven't really played any of the Persona games. But I really enjoy it. The songs are really catchy, and it's just a fun little well, not little. It's a pretty long game, but it's still an enjoyable RPG. Although I still remembered when I did my Del Mar Show review on it, it was going to be a co-review with my friend Tyler, or Gothbat, as he prefers to be called online. And he's a huge Persona nutcase. He loves Persona, the Shin Megami Tensei series. He's a huge fan of it. And I told him, hey, want to do a review of this game? He said, sure. A month later, I finished the game, and I'd be like, okay, Tyler, you ready to do this review? And Tyler's like, I only played the first chapter. It's like, what? I mean, we still did the review. You know, it was fun and all, but it's like, come on, man. I had to put in all the work, and you only played the stupid one chapter. You call yourself a fan? Shame.
I want to talk about a series that you were really obsessed with. You really liked it, and then you kind of fell off, which was Dimension Neptunia.
Ah, crap, you had to mention that one.
Oh.
Okay, so, yeah, funny enough, because we were literally talking about Tokyo Mirage Sessions, that actually indirectly led me to the Neptunia franchise. Like, I was trying to find clip art of the main characters, to use in a review, and, Google search. Whenever you type something, you might get one or two images from a completely different franchise. And as I was looking for the image of Kyria, I think was her name, I forgot, but there was an image of Iris Heart in there, and I was like, who the heck is this woman? Like, she get so villainous and so bad looking, and that delved into the yuck into learning about the Neptunia franchise, which was pretty much a parody of video games and video game culture. I mean, the little island of where the CPUs live is called game industry. And so, like, I just got caught into this thing where the characters are like personas based on video game consoles or franchise, whatever. And I really liked it, but over the years, I still like video games, but in terms of knowing about what's going on with the game industry or history, I've fallen back out and kind of fell out of the series. Plus, as video games, while the stories and slice of life moments with the characters were fine, the games were kind of dull and repetitive, and the last game that I played was Super Neptunia RPG back around 2019, 2020. And so I kind of fell out, and also felt like I was getting a bit too obsessed with it. And I know that sounds weird coming from a guy who makes Thomas the Tank Engine videos, but when I mean obsessed in like going in like the wrong direction or thinking too much about. And yeah, I just kind of fell out after a while. And I think we've all had franchises like that where we're a fan of something for a good couple of years and then we kind of fade out for one reason or another. And it's not the franchise's fault or anything like that. I just kind of faded out from it for a while.
Is it still going, Hyperdimension?
Oh yeah, it's still going. In fact, I still keep up with what's going on with the series time to time, and I think in August or September they're actually releasing a new game, and it's actually going to be the fifth mainline installment of the franchise, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Yeah, that's good to know at least. Hopefully the gameplay is better, but I'm kind of in a similar relationship with Yu-Gi-Oh, and it seems like a lot of content creators are feeling the same how would you say, it's sort of the same lack of relevance that Yu-Gi-Oh has been very mismanaged with Konami. Like, you had different generations to represent a new mechanic with the game, like from synchros, pendulums, xyzs, etc. But then they moved on to rush duels, which basically a different way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a completely different game, essentially. And for some reason, they never imported Rush overseas. It's only in Japan, but they continued making English dubs of it. So they're making dubs of these of a show that essentially serves as a commercial for a game that you can't play.
Okay, that's messed up.
It is, and a lot of content creators like, why can't we play Rush Duels? Like, why can't we buy the cards? Maybe it's probably because the regular card game is still going despite not having an anime that is attached to, which has allowed some creativity with legacy support, which is older decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! That we've seen Red Dragon Archfiend, Dark Lords, and Gaia the Fierce Knight, all sorts of decks that are receiving support. And, well, even that's gotten to a point where like, can we stop with the Blue Eyes and the Dark Magician cards? I want to see Cyber Angel support.
Yeah, they focus on the populace, but then when it comes to other cards that want support, they were like, nah, we're good. It's like, I want support for these other cards and such, you know?
Yeah, like, they seem to do a good job at turning singular cards into main decks like Tachyon, but you're not a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, you probably wouldn't know. Um,
Well, I mean, you've explained to me some of like the new rules and new mechanics over the years, and some of it I kind of understand, and some of it is like, uh, what? So, because I mean, I played Yu-Gi-Oh at the time when it was popular, but it's been years, so my knowledge of like what's considered uh tournament okay or what's now no banned or no longer used, there's a huge book I'm gonna have to follow for all that. Although
yeah,
interesting enough, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that's a problem that Yu-Gi-Oh is so convoluted and it's really expensive if you want to play the best decks that it's just overwhelming for any newcomers and it's hard to get into the game now, especially that we don't have a story to go by without an anime.
Yeah, although interesting enough, my brother was looking at different Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and ironically enough, it's part of the Arcania series that he's like, oh, these are some pretty cool looking cards. So he's not like going back into playing Yu-Gi-Oh, but he probably might buy some of the Arcania cards just because he loves the artwork of them. So it is interesting how you would show me the Arcadian Knight Joker before we started this interview. So it's like, oh, it kind of goes into a full circle almost.
Was this Arcana Force?
I can't remember. It was like Arcania Knight something, Arcania King, and all that.
I'm not sure, especially saying Arcania. Uh, maybe it's wrong pronunciation.
I'm really good at mispronouncing stuff. I had to take speech therapy throughout my whole elementary school years. And
Well, at least you get to be known as the Elmer Fudd.
surprisingly enough, I've only had one comment in my entire 15 years of YouTube. Only one person made an Elmer Fudd comment, so that's a blessing in disguise.
Oh, I thought there'd be more comments like that. I thought it was like a running gag with you.
Yeah, well, Not intentionally. I mean, I like Elmer Fudd. He's a fun character for Looney Tunes and such. But, if I was made an Elmer Fudd joke every single day, I probably would have hated the character more. Almost, but thankfully that hasn't happened.
Okay, so why don't we talk about a franchise you wish you got into? And I'm thinking of recording another sitting down with the doctor session talking about missing out on fandoms where when you hear a reference to something, you feel detached that you don't get the reference or the joke. And it's kind of a way you grow up. Like, it may be out of your hands. Like, I never grew up with Star Trek, so I don't get the Star Trek references. But yeah, what do you think about this?
Well, there has been some times where people make jokes or something, but then like miss out. But then there's times where my friends are a huge fan of something, and I try to watch the show or play the game, but it just isn't set for me. Like currently, a lot of my friends love the Amazing Digital Circus, and I actually have watched the first episode, but when I watched it, I just couldn't get into it. Like, I'm glad that my friends enjoy it and can make jokes back and forth and mention it, but for me, it was just too random of humor or just too random stuff going on that just didn't click with me. And I also really hate the Purple Rabbit, Jax. He is such an unlikable jerk. I just couldn't watch anymore. So while I know the show has a huge fan base and people love it and I'm happy for it, it's just not my cup of tea. But in terms of like franchises that I missed out on, there's not really much that I feel like, oh, why didn't I get into this fandom or why didn't I watch this back in the day? That hasn't really happened a whole lot to me.
Okay, yeah, because I do wonder if other people feel the same way I do. That I wish I got into Ratchet and Clank or Jack and Daxter, Star Trek. Yeah, I know we like to say that everything's been butchered nowadays, especially that Star Trek had like the acolyte, quote unquote, of its series in form of Starfleet Academy, which, funny enough, was greenlit for 2 seasons. And right after the first season ended, they said they would cancel the series, but they were filming season 2 back to back with season 1. So it's like they have no choice but to keep pressing forward.
Oh wow, I didn't know about that.
Like, what a total misread.
Yeah, like that's. I feel kind of bad for the production. Is like, should we keep going? Should we like? I don't know, man. We kind of already invested enough money in this.
Yeah. Um so yeah, maybe aside from Sonic, like uh not much it seems to be thriving in a good way lately.
Yeah. Although interesting with Sonic, I've never really been like a huge fan into the games, but I love like the animated shows. So like the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic X, Sonic Boom. I love those. And then the movies I really love. But when it comes to the actual Sonic games, I just couldn't really get myself to really playing them as much. That maybe it's just because since they'll focus on speed and I like to take my time and explore the world, it kind of like offsets that balance for me in terms of what I want in a game. But in a movie, there's that pacing and such and set that it's like, okay, I can enjoy this and enjoy the characters in this setting instead of being doing a speed run through a whole stage or something like that.
Is it so wrong to say that Sonic the Hedgehog has better pacing, that it's slower than the Mario movies?
Yeah, because I do enjoy the first Mario movie, and I know you don't care much for him, but I actually didn't mind Chris Pratt as Mario. I think he did fine. And I also really love like the ending battle where Mario gets back up to fight Bowser. It really shows why Mario's such a wonderful character who never gives up and gets back up. But I will admit the film definitely rushes a lot. There's not really like a lot of moments where you can kind of like take a breather, or how they cram so much stuff from the games into the movie that it kind of gets overwhelming. In fact, that's the reason why I'm waiting mostly to watch the Galaxy movie on DVD. That way I don't get a overwhelmed panic attack from watching it in theaters or something. But with the Sonic films, they pace it, they don't introduce all these different elements in one scene. They span and take and extend and take his time, and yet the characters develop. And I really love the Sonic films. I even enjoyed the Knuckles spin-off TV show. I mean, it wasn't the best Sonic part of the films, but I still really enjoyed the Knuckles series.
I'd say it's more of a Wade Ripple show than it is Knuckles.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just mentioning it because that is the title of the show, but I still enjoyed it. Plus, it has some really fun moments with Wade and of course with Knuckles and his echidna ancestry voiced by Christopher Lloyd. Or Christopher Lee, my bad.
Yeah, I was concerned with Sonic 3 over Knuckles, like, oh dear. But yeah, the whole point of the Knuckles show was to explain why Wade Ripple became a guardian of a Master Emerald, just for a quick gag for Sonic to yoink him out of his hands.
Yeah, although what I do appreciate about is that no one doesn't have to watch the Knuckles series. Like, if you skipped out on the Knuckles TV show, you didn't feel lost while watching Sonic Flee.
Exactly.
So that's something I really appreciate. You didn't have to watch the series. It's just a little bonus extra if you just wanted to watch more Sonic. And for me, Knuckles is actually my favorite character in the films. And so to get more screen time with Knuckles, even if it was like little, was like, oh, it's joy to my heart.
It's still taken me a while to get used to Idris Elba as Knuckles. I think Dan Green is the best Knuckles. But I will say, I think the writing for Knuckles in the movies is the best. Like, the best dialogue that Knuckles says, like, "Ah, my royal victory chariot!"
My favorite line. Okay, this is gonna sound extremely out of context for anyone who has yet to watch the Sonic films, but my favorite line of Knuckles is from Sonic Flee, where he sees Agent Stone and he's like, "It's the Gold Milker!" Just
Oh, imagine.
oh, I love that line so much.
Imagine that's the title that you will be remembered for.
Here lies this person, the Gold Milk.
Gotta feel bad for Agent Stone that he gets trashed on by Dr. Robotnik, and he's a very committed servant, but I think it's Sonic lore that whatever Eggman's servants are, he's under obligation to be a mean-spirited bastard to them.
Well, of course, that's just Robotnik's character, but there are still little moments where he does show appreciation, like how he loves the way Stone makes the foam latte thing or something like that. So there's little glimpses here and there, but that's just Robotnik for you.
Thank you for nothing.
And Jim Carrey's just perfect,
Yeah, he is, and I just like to say, I don't think you've watched the Netflix One Piece, but when you look at the hairstyles of these characters, and knowing that Jim Carrey asked Paramount, can we make the mustache bigger, please? It's like, look at Netflix, get those makeup artists on it. Like, just go full on, like, extended mustache.
Like, commit to the bit.
Yes, exactly. Like, you've gone this far. They keep evolving his character design where first it was nothing like Dr. Robotnik other than the shirt that he wears at the end. And then he went bald in the second movie. He went fatter in the third movie. And now we're going to do his mustache justice.
Maybe. It depends. We'll see how it goes.
I like this portrayal of Dr. Robotnik, that he gets more and more accurate to the games.
Yeah, I'm curious how the fourth one is gonna be. With Amy and Metal Sonic being in it, and uh, I do know that Sir Ben Knightley is gonna be in it. I'm not sure what role he's gonna play, but he's a good actor, so it's really cool to see he's gonna be in Sonic 4.
What's the name?
Uh, Ben Knightley, uh,
Oh, or is it Ben Kingsley?
Kingsley. Thank you. I was thinking Knightley, but it's Kingsley. I mostly remember him for the villain of the Red Hats from the Box Trolls. The hear ye, like the Box Trolls may not be the top best of Laikia's films, but the villain in the Box Trolls, oh my goodness, he's just perfect.
I was picking up on that. I thought the heroes were very generic cookie cutter, but the villain was the standout. He is creatively ugly.
I know, and the thing I love about him is that he wants to be part of the White Hats, and eat the cheese. But yet, he himself is allergic to cheese.
In the end, he gets what he wants, which is strange. And that was his downfall, to put it vaguely.
Yes, especially like at the end when he takes a teensy bite of a cheddar cheese or something, and he just goes, elegant, bashful, with a lovely taste that reminds me of a mother's.
Thanks for spoiling it.
Oh, I didn't even know you. I thought you'd seen it. I'm sorry. Oh god.
I have seen it, but for anyone else that hasn't.
Oh gosh, I didn't think about that. It's just oh my goodness. I just love that villain, the Box Trolls. Just watch it just for the red hat. He's just beautiful, perfect.
I wouldn't say beautiful is a good word for him.
Personality, not figurely.
Yeah, it's funny when I heard about Studio Laika's movie Wildwood, it got me thinking, Box Trolls is the only movie of theirs I hadn't seen, and thank God I have.
Yeah. Like, I think the part that I hate the most about the Box Trolls is the father of the White Hats, Like, the scene where the boy explains to him that he's the missing child from 11 years ago, and he just completely brushes that aside and be like, how dare you ruin my part? He's like, dude, do you not see? I bumped the mic, I'm sorry. Do you not see? He's the worst father in movie history.
He is very unlikable and very dismissive of his daughter.
I know, it's just like, he is so... I was hoping he would die in the film, honestly.
Yeah, he was not the best part of Box Trolls.
Though there's one part about it that, I know we'll talk a whole lot about Box Trolls, but the one thing I have to mention is like near the end where he sees the villain on top, and he doesn't realize that he was also Madame Frou-Frou just in disguise. And he's like, why do you sound like Madame Frou-Frou? Like, oh my goodness, I regret so much. That makes me wonder, what did you do? What did you do? Dang, I don't want to know, you perv, you sicko, you weirdo.
I'd just like to say, I appreciate the world building that we see posters of Madame Frou-Frou before we see the character.
I know. It's like, the world itself is how they built upon and such. It is really cool how they done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, even for Studio Laika's weakest movie, it's really decent. Probably a 6 out of 10. It might sound like, oh, it's just above average, but it's fine. Like, if you enjoy Studio Laika, go out and watch it.
Yeah, and 6 out of 10, that's still not bad. It's just okay, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, let's go over the last batch of questions, and I believe only got 20 minutes left before you had to head out.
I can still bend some time, so no worries.
Yep, so I want to talk about your religion and your walk with God, would you say you ever deviated away or sort of forgotten at any point?
I wouldn't say forgotten, but deviated is the part that I will kind of describe as a struggle because uh, I didn't like while my family was Christian, we went to church and such, but I didn't actually fully commit to walking with God until like 2015. And it was thanks to a book by Kyle Idman called Not a Fan, where he describes about what it's actually like to follow Jesus. And the problem that I think with modern with churches and such is that you get some churches that don't give us the full picture of Christ, of where Jesus isn't just this person that we can look towards, like he is God in human flesh. He's the second in the Trinity, that he is the greatest king and he will be and he's the king of kings and lord of lords. And there's a weight to Jesus that when you look to Jesus, you're seeing God in human flesh. And you know, there's a sort of weightness to following Jesus, and they don't really put the emphasis of what it means to be a follower of Christ. And it can be intimidating to know that there's the standard, but that Jesus will welcome you if you fully put your trust and faith in him. And one of the things that I typically struggle time to time with is assurance, especially with some habitual sin in my life or besettling sin, thinking that I've messed up and I made God not want me in his kingdom. But we have to remember the words that in this side of heaven, we're going to sin still, even when we're saved. But that if we confess our sins, that he will forgive us from them. And I wouldn't say there's been a part where I deviated from the faith. It's more of, at first I was lukewarm, and then I discovered that following Christ is much more than just saying a sinner's prayer or something. It's a relationship of walking with God and learning more about him and trusting in him, even when your emotions tell you otherwise.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, and I'm not religious. I should just say that out loud. But I'm willing to talk to people about their faith and sort of what I'm struggling with God is the number of interpretations there are. Like, what's the so there's Christianity, and then there's Catholicism or Catholics that believe that there is a pope, like a man who serves, acts as like the voice of God, if I'm correct.
Sort of, although I know there's some people that are Catholics, but with Catholicism, it's definitely more of a works-based religion where they try to add upon, like in Christianity, we walk by, we walk in faith by grace. Oh, forgive me. The main thing with Christianity is that we trust solely in the finished work on the cross. It's not based on works. It's just based on faith and trusting in Jesus. And that's when the Holy Spirit enters and we become a new creation. All things that we used to do, like, say, watching porn or drinking, no longer satisfy because we want to please God. And, you know, we get to heaven because of what Jesus did and we have faith in him. With the Catholics, it's faith plus works. It's like you have to work your way towards heaven. And that's not exactly what the Bible teaches at all. So, and then having this Pope figurehead, even though we don't need a Pope to talk to Christ, we could talk to Jesus. He already ripped the veil so we can talk to God and talk to Jesus freely without thinking we need some permission to or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, and where I was getting at is the number of interpretations that there's a number of branches, variations of Christianity, and it's like I want God or Jesus to come down and set the record straight that I am real. Like, I've seen articles and discussions that religion is losing its influence, and that ties into another question that I have for you later. That I want God to say, like, I am real, and you guys have lost. You may have lost your ways, but I'm willing to forgive you if you follow my commandments. Because I think we can all agree there's a lot of problems in this world, and we could use a savior like God, but want it to be direct rather than interpreted, you know?
I get what you mean, and unfortunately, there's places that are quote unquote Christians, but they may have a different doctrine or act differently. And even I myself will agree that trying to explain what is the actual biblical Jesus to what the world is saying can really be overwhelming. And
Hmm.
and so it's one of those things where you have to have discernment. Like, what I recommend to do is just get a Bible, like you can, like, there's multiple translations, but I recommend getting like the New Living Translation, because that was the one translation that actually helped me understand the scriptures a whole lot. And I compared it to the King James version, and yeah, it's really a good translation that's good in modern language that helps easily understanding the scriptures. And just doing a little bit of research, kind of like seeing what the scriptures say and seeing what other people are talking about. In fact, there's a Latin word that like Baptists and fundamentalists will say called sola scriptura, which is scripture alone. And so I would say, to quote Justin Peters, if you want to hear God's voice, just read the Bible. And if you want to hear God audibly, read it out loud.
I see. So, if you want to hear God, gotta subscribe to Audible.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I've had this conversation with another friend of mine who's fellow Christian, and I'm not sure if you've seen this yourself, but there seems to be he thinks there's a rise of fake Christians, quote unquote. And this stems from Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, that he is Christian, but at least Robert doesn't believe he holds up to Christian values, because it is weird to think that a man of God would be the originator of a popular horror franchise like Five Nights at Freddy's. And
Yeah.
what do you think of that? Because I think just go on a bit more that I remember leading up to the 2024 election in the US that there was reports that more men are converting to conservative values, and it's because they've been antagonized by uh, the Democrats on the far left. Like, we got to be diverse. Like, okay, that sounds good, but that sort of harkens back to Thomas the Tank Engine, where if you want to include more people, you got to exclude people, and just the demonization of straight white men. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it was getting out of control, and I think that's what led to people to side with Trump, despite what he's been accused of. It's like, well, you're not doing any better, so I'm gonna side with the Orange Man.
Yeah, although there is one thing about Trump, I will say, because, like, I know a lot of people that I know don't like him. For me, he's okay. I don't like him. I don't hate him. He's just, a person. But my issue with Trump is that, well, two things. One is that he doesn't really have a firm, like, he does say, God, we love you and such, but I've heard in many interviews where he's having more of a works-based religion instead of putting his faith in Christ. Like, when he mentioned about, I forgot when this was, like, when he took out the prime minister of Iran or something, he was doing a phone call interview and he said, I hope this will get me into heaven or something. And it's like, that's works-based religion. the premise of Christ to get to heaven is by putting your faith and trust in Jesus alone, not in your works, not in the works of man. And so I really do hope Trump does get saved. I don't want anyone, regardless who it is, I don't want to see anyone go to hell. And I hope that Donald is saved by Jesus, that he puts his trust and faith in him and not in himself. So that's one thing. But the other thing I have a problem with Trump is that some people overly glorify him. Like, just literally this past Easter, one of the faith leaders in the White House, Paula White, was doing this weird speech by comparing Trump to Jesus, saying, you suffer just as much as Jesus. And it's like, no, he hasn't. Like, the stuff that...
No.
Like, yeah, sure, Trump has been accused of stuff, but the stuff that he went through is nothing compared to what Jesus did on the cross. And people, like, has been doing this weird stuff where they compare Trump as, like, a messiah or a messenger from God. And there was even, I'm not even joking here, a hymn. Like, you know what a hymn is, right? A song of worship to God. There was a hymn on YouTube, a hymn worshiping Trump. Like, seriously. Trump is a sinner just like us. Like, why are you making this?
Yeah, and if those accusations turn out to be true, and not to even mention certain Jeffrey files, then maybe it's best not to, because he's been so secretive and broken his promise, like backflipped on that case, that situation so many times. Like, I don't know. I think he's done something that we don't know, because he's been so secretive and try to shut it down like it's a Democratic hoax. Like, no, you were saying you were going to release him as part of your presidential election, and yeah, but I don't think we're properly answering the question of, like,
oh, right,
yeah, the rise of fake Christians that was brought up by my friend Robert. So not necessarily with Trump, but the way people are interpreting God and Jesus.
In terms of the fake Christians, there are definitely some that say they're Christian, but they still act of the world. And, you know, Jesus mentioned, like, one of the scariest verses in the Bible is where Jesus mentions that not all who says Lord, Lord will enter the kingdom, because, here's a great example of a truly repentant Christian. Like, for me, I struggle with sexual immorality. Like, not so much porn, but like images of lust and everything. And there's two kinds of ways to look at it. You have the lukewarm Christian who knows they are struggling, but be like, I guess I can just go to the side and look at this and all that, and all that, and God will forgive me and whatnot. But then the true repentant Christian is like, Lord, I don't want to keep living in this sin. I know it's wrong, but I have this struggle. Please help me today to not sin against you. And so with some of the fake Christians, they don't think about, you know, the consequences of sin, because sin itself is rebellion against God. And, you know, there are people like in churches that will go to worship music and such, and then later on they'll go out to a bar, drink, go to a strip club or something, and it's like, you know, was told not to love that part of the world. And so there is a rise of like fake Christians going on, and that's something that's spoken of in scriptures, that there'll be a rise of people who think they are following Christ, but their heart is far from him.
And what you're saying is some people take God for granted. It's like, oh, forgiveness, that's easy.
Yeah, and it's like, when you follow Christ, there's a price to it. Like, not a price of works, but like, there's like the verse that I remember from Not a Fan that really struck, and I forgot what book it was from. It was either Matthew or Luke, where Jesus says, anyone who comes to me must deny himself, pick up his cross and follow me daily. And what that means is that you have to like deny your flesh, not like starve yourself, like not that, but the things that you struggle with sexual imagery or getting angry or gossip, like you have to like deny that sin from entering. And even when the world rebels against you, like if people don't understand why you're following Christ or think the ways of Jesus are stupid, that you're still striving for the kingdom of heaven. And there will be times where women who follow Christ have been persecuted or even had their own lives taken because they refused to follow Jesus. But we know that Jesus is the way, that he was killed on the cross, was buried, and then 3 days later he rose. And the promise is that we have eternal life to spend eternity with the Father in heaven in glorified bodies and escape from sin. And that means for us to... Sorry, I may be getting a bit overly preachy here, but it's just, to not yet the world control us, but rather be the light of the earth, and to live a life that's pleasing to God, and to not yet sin take control of us. And it's an ongoing battle that we have to do every day.
Yeah. And say again with works-based religion. I haven't heard that phrase before. Like, is it working towards God, or is it like working, to pay your bills?
Well, not so much that, because I was confused with that myself. What it is like, let's say, for example, okay, here's a good one. You know how some people will donate the time to, like, say, feed the homeless, like they'll go to a shelter to cook food or something. Like someone,
Yes.
like someone would do that, be like, oh, I can use this. This could be my ticket to heaven. Like showing, look at me, God, I'm giving to the poor. Now I'm definitely good enough to be heaven. That's like the works-based religion. What it is with, for a Christian is that for us to want to do good works, we don't do it to get saved. We do it because we are saved, and we want to do good to please God. And so it's like going over to helping someone mow their yard because the lawnmower was broken. We did it for that person because we wanted to help them, not to show look how good I am, or to be like, look at me, God, I'm mowing this person's yard. Ain't I great? Like, we do it because we love that person and we want to help them. And that's like a sort of transformation of a person's heart, is that we want to do good works because we are saved, and we want to show people the grace of God by doing these acts out of love and appreciation for a person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I get it. Like, you're not doing it necessarily out of a kind of your heart. It's more so out of fear that you're not worthy of God's presence.
That's kind of like that a little bit with the works based. And there have been times where I felt like that, where I had to kind of prove myself to God. But there's a saying that I've kind of learned over the years of a phrase called sanctification, meaning as when you put your trusted faith in Jesus, there's an ongoing process within a believer of the Holy Spirit transforming them, where the old habits that they used to do die out, and they get new. I'm trying to think of the right word. Being and changing it to having a pure heart. So, like for example, with someone who was deep into alcoholism, over time they will stop overly drinking. They may throw away all the alcohol, pour it down the sink, and try to be pure because of how they once used to live, and now they realize the drunkenness was hurting them, it was offending God, and they want to be better, and so they throw away the drinking. They'll spend quiet time with prayer, reading the Bible, and evolving to learning to no longer excessively drink, or they just become clean the whole life without touching alcohol again because of what happened. It's different for some people, but essentially the sanctification of it for Christian is that once they're saved, they become a brand new person with new desires, new hearts, and that's not to say, well, we won't sin, because we're going to fall short every day, in some form or another. But it's an ongoing process until we go into heaven and being glorified bodies, that won't where sin and death won't take place in.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to take in,
I know.
and find yeah, trying to find that fine line, like to do it out of the goodness of your heart, and not necessarily like trying to prove yourself out of fear that you're not worthy. And yeah, that was an elaborate speech that you've done.
Yes, well, I
Yeah,
don't get to talk about God that much with people, so this was just nice to do that.
yeah. I have a new question from today when I was watching Philip DeFranco. That's a news channel, and he was talking about in some schools in America, they're talking about that it's a requirement to bring the Bible to schools, and Philip points out hypocrisy that conservatives were saying that it's wrong to indoctrinate kids into religion. Now, specifically, that's in reference to like pride and stuff, like the pride flag, and that's a whole other saga. Which, yes, I agree. I would agree with conservatives that is wrong, and I'm sure you as a Christian would say like it's better to bring in the Bible. But what that's doing is sort of exposing the hypocrisy, like people that may not be religious, or they might be of another religion, like Islamic, Buddhism, whatever, and now you got to um, be taught these are Christian ideologies. Like that's still like indoctrinating kids into this ideological teachings. I wish I remembered the wording Philip DeFranco said, but what do you make of that in a way? Like, I'm sure that's something you would want everybody to learn the ways of God, but not necessarily in everyone's culture.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, while in hindsight it sounds good, like you said, it is sort of like kind of enforcing it, because, like, bringing a Bible to school, like, that's no problem, but it's like saying you are required to do that for every student, like those who do practice, like, Islam or Buddhist or whatever. Like, the ideal with Christianity, because some people feel like we try to force it down to people, but that's not what we try to do at all. It's like we want people to come to Jesus willingly, not forcefully. And Jesus didn't force anyone to follow him when he did his earthly ministry. In fact, he probably had more people leaving his ministry more than joining him. And so the ideal of like forcing people to carry a Bible, even if they don't want to, is, yeah, that is a bit of hypocrisy with it, because I wouldn't want someone to just carry a Bible just because it's required. I would want them to carry a Bible because they love God, they want to learn about his word, study it, maybe for like a project or something. But to forcefully carry a Bible is like, yeah, that is a bit out there.
Yeah, and it's can't necessarily force someone to join your cause. Like what happens if the students or the parents choose to reject it? Like I don't want my children in any part of it. It's like, are they going to be antagonized? Are they going to be villainized? Are they going to face charges? It's like that's a bit extreme.
Yeah, so like something like that, it's like we wouldn't want anyone to get in trouble for that,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that is an interesting thing that you mentioned. But yeah, I wouldn't really force upon it. Like if they don't want to bring the Bible, because even if they are Christian, if they just want to keep the Bible safe without fear of it being stolen or ripped up, clash with other school books and such, because school books can be ridiculously heavy, or they were when I was a kid, and such. But just when you keep it at home to keep it safe, it's like, you gotta think about all these kind of scenarios.
Yeah, and last part as we're closing out this interview, what do you make of like the sin of pride? This is an odd one for me because pride, I believe the correct term that should be worded in the Bible or the scriptures is should be bragging, like, look how good I am. But we know the saying, take pride in your work. It means to be proud of your accomplishments. But in my opinion, to brag about like how good you are to show off, that's that makes you blinded by your capabilities.
Yeah.
So what do you make of that? I think because none of the sins, should be allowed. Like we're not allowed, oh, just a little bit of lust or maybe a little bit of murder. It's like it should be none of it as the way it's worded in the Bible. But for pride, this is an odd one for me.
Yeah, and this is one I kind of struggle a bit. Not because of me being prideful, but because I'm the opposite. I tend to look down upon myself, a bit of like being a heavy critic of myself. And even when and this is weird coming from me, I know, but if I'm really proud of a scene in a video I made and I'm with friends, I sometimes get nervous talking about how much I enjoy doing a certain scene because I feel nervous about being overly prideful about it, even though it's something I really loved. But yeah, it's like being proud, take pride in your work. It's like I've been an overnight stalker at Walmart for almost 13 years, and I do enjoy the work a lot. And if I'm really proud of something, I don't try to get a focus on me. Instead, I try to point and be like, giving God the thanks for letting me do well. Like, God, I want to thank you for giving me strength and doing well. Or like if I build a really beautiful feature end cap of like ketchup or something and think this looks really good, I don't try to give myself the glory. I give God the glory, like giving him more of the appreciation of him than me. So I try not to do the whole take pride in your work. I give him more glory to God than to myself.
Yeah, so you're saying you want God to take the credit for what you were able to achieve.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And even uh, like if a manager thanks me, I try to mention that it's mostly God I give thanks for that, because I know it stems from my low self-esteem issue, but it's like I try not to give myself too much credit where I might go that fine line of look at me, I'm the best, the best, like it's something I'm still working on, trying to give myself a little bit of credit, but not to the point where I forget there was other people involved, and you want to give proper credit where credit's due.
Yeah. The self-esteem, it took us long enough to make another train pun.
That's right, I forgot about that.
I'm sorry to...
No, that's good. That's good. 10 out of 10.
I think that's a good note to end on. So, thank you for coming on, mate. Thanks for this very long discussion. This might be the longest of the Sitting Down with Doctor series, and we've talked about all sorts of things about you, Thomas, religion, and pop culture. And do you have any closing statements, like future plans?
In terms of future plans, obviously Thomas Meeple Railway is coming back. Other than that, I try to be careful because there are times where I say I want to do this, but I don't follow. But I might make something special for like the 15-year anniversary, like some vlogs reflecting on what I've done over the years. Maybe do another in-depth analysis video talking about maybe some Thomas Wooden Railway sets or something along that. I haven't decided. It just depends on how it goes, because I know this may not be appropriate to mention since YouTube is really messed up, but I still think the part of YouTube in the name is true, where YouTube is about you. You are literally showing yourself, and you could show and talk about anything that you like. Like if you're a big fan of lamps, for example, and you really want to make a video about lamp design, then that is you to make and to show, because you are passionate about it. Even if you only get like 10 views or something, you should still be proud of it. And I still believe that part of YouTube is to be true, because after 15 years of making random videos, I have the most fun when I'm just myself and I'm free to create and explore, and being able to discuss random stuff from obscure VHS tapes or random sketches revolving a really bad toy line or something. It's how you want to make your videos, and it's not based on how many views you get or income. It's just making videos just for fun and creativity. Even if you only get like 10, maybe 8 views at most, that's still 8 people that took the time to watch a video made by you, and that should be something good to go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in a different position. Like, I would love YouTube to be my full-time job. But after hanging around, for those that don't know, I broke my arm in December, and I was put off my work as a storeman for about 3 months, and couldn't be on the computer for a month. But then after that, when I was able to get back onto the computer, even as my arm was what's it called, a sling. After working almost non-stop on various video projects, because I'm trying to make YouTube a viable source of income, and I'm worried about if I have to get more working hours at the airport, or if I have to get a second job, which is what my father's been trying to push. Like, a lot is riding on the villains video for my YouTube channel, and I'm hoping it turns out best. It's still a long way to go. That's essentially my future plan, but yeah, I'm in a different position where if I can't make YouTube a viable source of income, then yeah, that's what's gonna happen. And a bit worried about that, because I'm nearly 30, and I would like to move out of the house, but yeah, bit of a precarious situation on my end.
I'm sure that you'll be able to make it through. It's just a matter of just doing what you can, and just staying strong.
Yeah. So right now, there's a bunch of little videos I have in the backlog. Like, I might be uploading some of the videos I recorded in the UK when I traveled there last year. And there's also a bunch of Lego videos from years ago when I went to Legoland in Malaysia. Particularly Star Wars Lego, and I'm going to say that for when Mandalorian and Grogu come up. And yes, I will admit, it's for the sake of the algorithm that it's a Star Wars video, so this will come up in Star Wars recommendations. so, so hopefully that works. And even if it may be like short-term profit, because there are some videos that people still watch for years, and then there's like short-term videos that kind of die off quickly, but hopefully it pays off, pun intended.
Hey, maybe you can upload it on May the 4th.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be uploading them sporadically throughout the month, but yeah, I've got UK videos. I would like to do more Yu-Gi-Oh videos, but the problem is the views just don't come in for Yu-Gi-Oh, and considering like the low popularity state that the franchise is in, it's like, can Konami just completely reboot Yu-Gi-Oh, or can they do a multiverse story? Please, just something. It's sad to see Yu-Gi-Oh slowly die off, but other content creators is like, Why isn't Yu-Gi-Oh the same as Pokemon? Why is Yu-Gi-Oh dying? Why are players leaving?
Hey, at least it's not Duel Masters.
Yeah, I've completely forgotten which one that was.
It was sort of a Yu-Gi-Oh clone. I mean, the card mechanics wasn't too bad. Me and Chris did play it a little bit, but it didn't last that long, and I think it didn't even last a year or something.
I might have a toy of that actually, Bioshock Dragon. It's one of my favorite toys that I still have, and I don't know if it's from Duel Masters, but if I could show you, it is an epic toy.
You'll have to show me because I think that is from Duel Masters, but it's been so long. I don't have any of the cards, unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to take a look back. But yeah, it was kind of fun. Not too bad.
Yeah, because think I might have to accept that Yu-Gi-Oh is going the way of Bionicle, where it seemed really good, but now it's just a thing of a past, and it might be time to move on from that. Bionicle was swift. Like, as soon as or a single wave of Bionicle toys didn't sell well for Lego, they just canceled it. It's like, damn, it seems so rich with lore, and the trilogy that we got, they were good movies. And
I
they were plans for a
love
new
the
trilogy,
movies.
but oh yeah, especially the third Bionicle movie. That is a hidden gem, because I think that is a perfect message for leadership versus tyranny.
Yeah. Plus the toys were really cool, and Bionicles was
Oh,
really
they were
amazing.
wicked. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just have to mention Cardis. That is one of the best toys I've ever seen. The design of Cardis is sick. Like, if you look up Cardis right now of Bionicle, is awesome.
Okay, I'm now gonna have to go on a nostalgic trip lane to look at Bionicles because I hadn't seen the movies in years, but I actually do have one thing of Bionicle where Lego released like a kind of a somewhat mini build of the main character for the 20th anniversary. It was like a thing that you could get if you paid 120 for like a Lego order, like a free gift or something. It's a really cool build. I'll try to show you the image of it after we get done with this recording.
Yeah, I might have to show it on screen. But I'll just show you a picture
Oh
of Cardis.
yeah, I remember that. That is so bad, eh?
Yeah, you got like the tail with a laser cannon on it, and you got these really detailed feet and the toes of all things, but the design of the jaw, I love how the teeth are so long they go like above the jawline. And when you if you look at it sideways, which you can't really do in this image, but the design of a mask with the eye pieces, it's this really narrow, aggressive look he's got going on. Oh, it's beautiful.
So
It sadly
beautiful.
wasn't in the movies.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yep. So that's gonna do it for now. Thank you everyone for listening, and um, go to Delmar's channel to ask him his Q&A questions, which will be closed off on the 20th, and hopefully I get this video out very soon. So until next time, take care, mates.
God bless you all.